All right, welcome back to the AM show. If you just joined us, this is Joe News, and the show is the AM show. Well, time for us to go into what the papers are reporting, and I have with me the Daily Graphic newspaper. I also have the Daily Guide, the Finder newspaper, the Publisher, and the Custodian. And now the Daily Graphic is reporting, the banner headline is about the NPP Super Delegate Conference. It says 4 crews into Nov.4 run off to decide last slots. On the front page of the Daily Guide, it says Bawumia sweeps NPP vote with 629. Joe Gate Kwabena Japan out. The Finder also says Bawumia wins all 16 regions. Kenya Japan, Dr. Free Akoto pool surprises. Okay. The Publisher says Bawumia clears first hurdle. NPP moves to stop Ken's arrogance. And Custodian says NPP 2024 race, all 16 regions pick Bawumia. Okay. This is brought to us by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Now, I've been joined on the line by the Executive Director for Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Abrahima. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Okay, great. Now, let's start off from the Daily Graphic. It says, I've spoken about the NPP's own already. Now, World Bank grants $27.7 million concessionary funding to NHIS, or Nov.4 to help raise $10 million for CAF. Now, per the predictions of various surveys, the special electoral college election of the new governing New Patriotic Party hardly produced any surprises, as the party last Saturday scaled the first hurdle towards selecting a presidential candidate for the 2024 general election. It is now setting the Vice President, Mahamudu Bawumia, the Member of Parliament for Asin Central, Kennedy Ohene Japan, a former Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan John Kwadwo Kyerematen, and a former Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Uswefri Yakoto, are the candidates of the Nov.4 2023 showdown after emerging tops in that order from the list of 10 candidates. Dr. Bawumia had the biggest endorsement, securing 629 votes, representing 68.15%, while Mr. Japan had 132 votes, representing 14.30%. Mr. Kyerematen secured 95 votes, which represent 10.29%, while Dr. Ekoto had 36 votes, representing 3.90%. Last Saturday's election, however, fell short of producing a fifth candidate required for the final round of the process, as a former Energy Minister Boakye Jakun and the former MP for Mampong in the Ashanti region, Francis Adainimo, secured 9 votes each in the fifth place. The chairman of the Presidential Election Committee of the party, Professor Michael Quay, said if neither of the two tying aspirant threw in the towel, the party would go for another election on Saturday, September 2 this year, to break the tie, to bring the number to 5 as required by the party's constitution. Your reaction on this development?
Well, Blessed, I've lost you there, and I don't know whether I'm supposed to be on.
Well, you are on. I can hear you. I can see you.
Okay. Well, so my thoughts on what happened on Saturday. I think that in terms of Dr. Bawumia's victory in this Super Delegates Conference, it was something that was expected. For me, I was really hoping that Dr. Bawumia would even secure more numbers than he did, because right from the beginning, it was obviously clear, that the party machinery, the government machinery, members of parliament, senior party figures had all indicated their support for him. Parliament, there were just a few voices of dissent. In terms of ministers, you had senior ministers all coming out to declare. Regional chairmen, we had a lot of them. Regional secretaries, constituency chairmen, and so on. And so one's expectation was that, well, with this kind of mobilization, it's obvious that Dr. Baumia is going to maybe get some 80% or more to maybe send a very, very clear signal that maybe people shouldn't worry themselves wanting to contest him on November 4. And so I think that Dr. Baumia's victory is not surprising. What for me is surprising is the fact that he couldn't get up to 75%. And that for me signals a bit of trouble for him in the main Congress to elect the flag bearer. I think that with the performance of Kennedy Japan, anything can happen now because we're talking about 200,000 or so people versus this less than 1,000 people who went to vote, and mainly persons who could be whipped in line by the government. President Akufo-Addo, before the Super Delegates Congress, had made effort to say that, well, I behind anyone, I am neutral even though I have my vote, but certainly, people cannot be deceived that way. Everyone knew that President Akufo-Addo and knows that President Akufo-Addo is behind Dr. Baumia. It's not surprising. We saw Kennedy Japan in that interview with Oman FM, saying all manner of things, including the fact that he will give the president a showdown. I mean, why would a contest that does not involve President Akufo-Addo result in he threatening that he will give Akufo-Addo a showdown? And I don't think that anyone can say that Ken didn't know what he was talking about.
But isn't it easier for anybody to say that, I mean, the president or the machinery supporting Baumia? Why is nobody talking about his own persona and what he's been able to do as being a factor of attracting people to support him?
No, absolutely. I don't think anyone can say that Dr. Baumia is not calling kind of contest on his own accord or based on his own credentials within the party. Certainly, he can do that. But it is also important to underscore the fact that the government machinery, the presidency, parliament, the party machinery basically had mobilized behind Dr. Baumia. And I think that is also part of the problem that he's going to have going into the main Congress on November 4, because for now it's almost like it's President Akufo-Addo and his government together with Baumia versus the others. Okay. And I think that right now, look, my bet is really on Kennedy Japan. Okay. Because he says what the party folks wants to hear. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up winning in the main Congress.
Okay. Now, the party has referred Kennedy Japan and others to their disciplinary committee for some utterances that they deem was quite in breach of the party's protocols. Again, they say that if the two-time candidate, one of them does not, call it off or stand down, they would have to have another process coming Saturday to break the tie. What do you make of those? Is that the way to go about the whole challenges that confronted them?
I think in terms of Mr. Boache Jakun and Honorable Ade Nimo, if I were to advise, ask them to quit, because there's certainly no way either of them is going to win on November 4. But of course, politics is not also about winning all the time. There were those who went into this contest knowing very well that they were not going to win. But it was also about registering their name and continuing to stay very relevant within the party. And so I would not be surprised if both of them were to say, look, let's go for the tiebreaker, because that will also further enhance even my standing within the party. And whoever wins from that would see it as a major boost for their chances, even though, as I said, I don't think that either of them is going to make it. The referral to the disciplinary committee, well, it's not out of place. But for someone like Kennedy Japan, if the reason is the video that we've all seen, in terms of that interview with Oman FM, if that is the basis for the invitation to the disciplinary committee, I doubt what that is going to, the impact that is going to have. Okay. Because I think that the party leadership has really tolerated a lot of indiscipline within the party. It is perhaps for the first time that you hear regional chairman, party officers, other ministers and so on openly come out to campaign ahead of the Congress itself, coming out to campaign openly for a candidate. Previously, you would hear, the clarion call that, look, party executives are supposed to take neutral positions, even though if you support someone, you are not supposed to make that public. But look at what happened in this instance. Who was invited to the disciplinary committee? So I think that the moral grounds on which the party would want to now exert discipline is quite at the bottom. Okay. But, well, they belong to the party. And let's see how things will pan out.
Interesting. Let me take you to page 13. It says World Bank grant $27.7 million concessionary funding to NHIS. Now, the World Bank has provided a national health insurance scheme with $27.7 million concessionary funding to improve services, especially to the poor and vulnerable. The funding will enable the scheme to increase its population coverage, register more poor and vulnerable people, and ensure the prompt processing and payment of claims for primary health care providers. The PHCs comprise the community-based health planning services, CHIPS compounds, health centers, and maternity homes under the primary health care improvement. Dubbed Program for Resorts, the amount was provided by the World Bank with some support from the other donors under the umbrella funding group called Global Financing Facility. A health economist with the World Bank, Enoch Oti Ejekum, confirmed the funding to the Daily Graphic last Thursday on the sidelines of a training program for claims management in Accra. This is obviously good news for the scheme that has been struggling with funding for some time now. What would you say should be the focus of the NHIS in trying to manage this fund that's coming in?
Well, yes, it is positive news, but we've had even far bigger funds coming into our sector, various sectors, and over the years we still are where we are. During COVID, we had hundreds of millions of dollars coming in, and yet in the end, we said it is COVID that has gotten us to where we are. I think what is important is how judiciously the funds that we are talking about is going to be utilized. And our brother, Honorable Okuboy, who is in charge of the NHIS, has a responsibility to ensure that the funds are put into judicious use so that at the end of the day, we get to see the benefits that we must have. But I think that increasingly, as the media community, we also do have a big responsibility. Now we've heard that this money has been approved, and it is important that we begin to follow the money. Okay. And so what I would say and urge our media folks is perhaps this presents an opportunity. Let's start with something to follow the money. Let's track it. Let's be with the NHIS. Let's help them to utilize this money in a way that will benefit the poor and the ordinary people.
All right, so that is the charge to us journalists here.
So maybe what were the areas that were indicated to benefit from this funding, and then we start tracking this money right from the word go and see how things will go.
All right, thank you so much. Let's move on to other papers here. Now, the Daily Guide newspaper says Lucy Blay, others win 550,000 cedis SC grant. Baumia sweeps NPP vote with 629. Joe Gate, Kwabene Japan out. Man killed in Juju gunshot test. It's not over for Alan. Shutdown, meltdown. Ken faces disciplinary committee. Now, let me take you to this story that is, something that Ghana needs to work on. Now, the story written by, is written by Emmanuel Opoku from Takrady. It says, a 28-year-old man, Amo Kwajo, who allegedly went for a charm or juju to make him powerful and impenetrable by gunshot, has died as bullets went straight into his body during the alleged testing of the charm. The unfortunate incident happened at Ayem, a farming community in the Mpor district of the Western Region on Friday, August 25, 2023. The deceased was among 6 other young men who claimed nothing can kill them because they have charms and so have been terrorizing some residents in the area. According to sources, the young men had also been attacking small-scale miners in the community to steal their gold-bearing sand, popularly called black. The alleged shooter, Emmanuel Kweku, 22, who is currently in the grips of the police, was said to have shot the deceased at the Subri River bank in the area during the alleged spiritual exercise. And my checks in the area indicates that this is something that has been happening. Most of the young people feel that they have to go for charms to help them in life. How do we approach this issue to ensure that we are able to uproot this whole development from the society? It's not just in that community, but many other communities that I am aware of.
Well, I think it's a cultural and a social issue that people have to be oriented. That look, this whole thing about juju and charm and all of that, sometimes maybe just may appear to be working, but the reality is that it's not something that helps. I don't see anyone who has prospered as a result of whatever juju they call it. So it's for me some orientation that especially our young people need as they grow up in life. But what has happened is really sad. It's unfortunate, and the guy who did the shooting could also be in trouble for
Yeah, he has been arrested.
Sorry?
He has been arrested by the police.
Yeah, well, so unfortunately, he's going to be meant to intentionally kill him, or he himself even believed that, oh, yeah, we want to prove to people that our folks have the juju that makes them, body proof, or as they say in terms of gunshots. So it's a sad development. Commiserations to the family that has lost this guy, but it should serve as a lesson for all those who think that this is the way to go.
Right. So how must the police approach this matter really? I mean, they have arrested the guy who shot it, but the others are on the run. How do we ensure that we get all of them and even use them to serve as a deterrent to other people who will be thinking of going on the same tangent?
Well, I don't know the crime of those that we say are on the run. If they had also claimed that they have the same juju and were also preparing.
Well, they were in a gang. So in the video, you see 2 people who had gone to stand at a distance, and then one person was holding a gun, towards them. There were other people around them who were cheering them on. Some of them were taking videos. So it looks like they were all together in the act.
Well, I think it's a matter of law, and the lawyers will know how to handle this and who to apprehend and who not to apprehend. I think I will leave it at that. Okay.
All right. There's this story on page 9 of the paper. It says GIPC engages Japanese investors. Now, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, in collaboration with the Japan External Trade Organization, organized a business forum to engage with Japanese investors in the country. The forum focused on orienting the Japanese business community on investment trends and opportunities in multiple sectors within the country to guide their expansion and investment decisions. The forum also provided an avenue for existing Japanese investors operating in the country to become abreast with GIPC's role in facilitating business operations within the country. CEO of the GIPC, Yofi Grant, highlighted the dynamic relationship between Japan and the country, as Japan is the 12th highest FDI contributor to Ghana during the 2017 to 2022 period. He also mentioned that although the current economic landscape faces challenges as countries emerge from the global political and health crisis, that Ghana still has several investment opportunities. Now, there have been calls for people to say Ghana should be quite, careful in protecting local businesses. For example, today, foreign companies have started, taking into bread baking. And that if you do that, you even take the business from the smallest of businesses who are in our communities. As we engage these, foreign countries on how they can invest in the country, what must be the focus of GIPC or the country in general to try and get in investors, but also protect smaller businesses owned by Ghanaians?
Yeah, I think the two things you raise are important. Yes, we need foreign investors to come in and invest in a country. That is, every country needs that, and that local businesses are supported. We are now told that it is this same GIPC we are talking about that indicated that the construction of a four-star hotel within the neighborhood of airport residential area was such a strategic investment that should forgo close to $4 million in taxes a wealthy business person. That is the GIPC. That is the same GIPC we are talking about that is moving around saying that it wants investors into the country. So yes, it is important for us to have investors in the country, but if the same institution that is doing that is in the business of making decisions to forgo huge amounts of money that will come into the country, then I wonder whether that is an institution that really represents the business interest of our country. And so, yes, that is part of their mandate, getting investors into our country. But as you say, it is important as a country for us to also look into how we protect local businesses. You can imagine what $4 million tax relief would do to how many local small-scale businesses in our country. But those are the ones that are, are suffering all the numerous taxes that are being imposed on people. Then these wealthy companies come in and they are granted tax exemptions, tax waivers, tax holidays, and so on. So we really have a lot to do as a country.
All right, let's do the final newspaper now. It says, I think we've spoken about NIA. We've also spoken about Kennedy Japan, Hobson Adoy, and 3 others to face NPP disciplinary committee. NIA resumes free card registration today with 484,000 blank cards. Ghana's transformation agenda on course, Reverend Tim Fojo says, and war defilement trial, prima facie case established against accused. Now, let me take you to page 4. It says the National Identification Authority (NIA) will today resume the registration and issuance of Ghana cards to Ghanaians aged 15 years and above who are first-time applicants at no cost to them. The service will be available to such qualified applicants at 8 out of NIA 16 regional offices and all 276 district offices nationwide. Regional offices where the specified services will not be available are Kumasi, Ashanti region, Sunyai, Bono region, Techiman, Bono East region, Koforidua Eastern region, Tamale Northern region, Volta region, Takrade Western region, and Sefiri also Western North region. According to the NIA, the resumption of this registration exercise has become possible due to NIA's receipt of 484,000 blank cards from its technical partners, Identity Management Systems 2 Limited and CalBank PLC, following an initiative by the Ministry of Finance. This has been quite some challenge where we've been talking about how Ghanaians are not getting the cards. How do we ensure that this is sustained and we don't get back to where we complain of people not getting their cards?
Well, the NHIS initiative is such a very important initiative, and it's an institution that, if it works well, it really serves the interest of the marginalized and the poor in our society. And so, as I said, sometimes it's about the oversight. and almost every institution in this country appears to be underperforming. And that's basically because everything is politicized, oversight is not strong, and so on. So we all do have a responsibility now, as I said earlier, to really monitor the work of the NHIS, NHIA, especially at this time that it appears that a lot of initiatives are happening, including this amount of money that has come from the World Bank and other partners. So let's keep an eye on the NHIA and see how things would go.
All right. Now, the Deputy Minister for Education in charge of general education, Reverend John Ntimfojo, has affirmed that the nation's transformation agenda was on course. He explained that a massive craving for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM education by the nation, especially the youth, and the support being received from the private sector were enough evidence to indicate that the nation is gradually being transformed through education. Is this something you feel as well?
Well, I think some progress is being made. Today, almost everyone appreciates the importance of STEM education, and almost every parent would wish that their kids are into one of the STEM programs. So that, for me, is a positive development. But to say that the country's transformation agenda is on the basis of just this, I think it's political talk, and I don't see any changes so far that is happening. It's good that as a country we are promoting STEM education. Every country around the world is doing same. It's not just here in Ghana. Every country I know of is doing same, whether it's Liberia, Sierra Leone, Burkina, Mali, wherever, is prioritizing STEM education, because that's really the way to go. So it is not just here in Ghana. So would we then say that all these countries are having their revolutionary or transformation agenda on? It's about maybe the next 5-6 years, what happens? We have an education system, especially at the second cycle level, that has almost been bastardized in the name of free SHS. And kids go to school 1.5 months, they are back home, they stay home 3 months before they go back, then they go back, and 2 months they are back at home, and everything appears to be in a mess. And then we say transformation agenda is on. How is it on? I think we have to be serious and honest with ourselves. As I said, it's important that we focus on the STEM programs, but second cycle education that we have actually put in place.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Suleiman Abrahima, and have a solid day.
Thank you. You too.
Now, this segment was brought to us by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Now, they are offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening, and they are located in several areas throughout the country. In Accra, locate them in Spintex opposite Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Chronom, Abohia behind Angel Educational Complex. In Takrade, they are located at Anaje Estate. In Tema, in Community 22, Techiman Hanswa. In Nzima area, you can locate them in Esiama. Give them a call on 0244 867068 or 0274 234321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic diseases. This is still the AM show. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll bring you latest from the world of sports. We hear that there's a boxing sensation in town. Who is he? My colleague will have all of that for you here on the show. So do stay with us.